right, so today we're going to be walking through a demo for the use case that, you're a big bank, you have an auto business that has a bunch of dealers around the world, and you want to be able to share data with them in an AI ready way so they're able to just chat with the data right when they receive it. So you want this to include both structured and unstructured data, and you want it to be filtered for only the data that relates to that particular dealer that you're sharing it to. So this slide is just showing, the broader picture of end-to-end AI on Snowflake. And so for today's demo, it's these highlighted pieces of first, we'll start with the structured side of the house. So we'll be working with loan application data, and we'll be creating a semantic view on top of that. So that you're able to chat with that loan application data as a dealer. And then we'll deal with the unstructured side of the house with a couple PDF documents on, credit policy, on market trends, etc. We'll go through the process to create a Cortex search service, and then we'll package both those things up into a listing that can be shared with a dealer account externally. So we have a semantic view and we have a search service. We'll package those in a single listing that a dealer account then receives and creates an agent that can call those two tools very easily. And then that agent in our demo will be surfaced through Snowflake Intelligence just because it makes it really easy to have this ready to go UI that serves both business users and technical users, and applies all that governance and RBAC controls automatically since it's built on top of Snowflake. All right, so let's get into it. First, we are starting in the provider account here. So I'm going to create what's called a secure view. And secure views are, they're views that add a lot of privacy controls on top of them. So in our case, it's really important that dealers only see the information relevant to their dealership. And we also want to mask some fields for that dealer as well. So we are creating a secure view. You can do this in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be a secure view for every single dealer. You can automate this through reader accounts and setting up RBAC controls as well. So you can see that for some sensitive information like customer email and phone, I am masking those fields so that the dealer will not be able to see the actual values. I also add a bunch of different categorical fields that might be helpful for analyses on the dealer end. And then I have this where clause where the dealer ID equals 002. So it's only the loan applications for that particular dealer that will be surfaced in this listing. So looking at some of the things that are provided by the secure view. So this is for a dealer name of Mountain View Motors. They have total applications is 6 and approved is 5 with 1 rejected. You can see things like average credit score of those who applied, average income, and the approval rate for that particular dealer. All right, I'll be coming back to this notebook to go over the search service section, but let's finish out the structured side of the house first. So I'm going to jump into Cortex Analyst to create a semantic view over that particular secure view. Let me just switch my role here. All right. So just to go through the actual the flow here. So you can create a new semantic view. You can select your database and schema. It looks like I need to switch my role again. 1 second. All right. So let's select our database and schema. We'll name it Auto Finance Semantic View. You can add a description if you'd like. I'll skip that for now. And then you can choose the tables that you'd like included. For our particular use case, it's only one secure view that we would like to create this semantic model for. But for other use cases, you might have multiple tables that you want to, establish the joins and how they're related to each other within the semantic view. So there you would select multiple tables. And then I want all the columns involved as well. All right, I already have a semantic view for this, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And so you can do things like add custom instructions. So in this particular example, I added the custom instruction that whenever it's asked about approval rates, tell a joke. So this is a random custom instruction. You can be a lot more specific than this and relevant to your particular use case. So for example, add a column with a fixed value of 42 or include a sum calculation for column X, etc. So there's a lot of examples below of what you can do in this custom instruction field to make sure that the responses are as relevant and accurate to the use case as possible. So you can see my table here. It's imported as a logical table with all of these different dimensions and facts. It interprets what's a dimension and a fact. There might be some things to kind of change around here. So for example, I know that is approved. That's just a binary flag. I'd like that moved to dimensions. So I can move some things over, etc. I can also add synonyms, which can be an important field to make sure is filled out for a lot of these columns. So let's go down to dealer name, for example, and there are synonyms already added by AI, but I can always add to this list as well. So I added this dealer to the list. It wasn't there before with what AI generated. So anytime a user comes to the UI and asks about, uses the word dealer, it should know that it corresponds to this field name. If I had multiple tables in this semantic view, I would define their relationships right here, and I could say what they're joined on, whether it's an inner, outer join, etc. So you can specify that within the relationships section, which is an important thing for the semantic model to know. And then lastly, you can develop a list of verified queries. So say a lot of users are asking about the overall approval rate of loan applications. You can add that to the verified query list. You can say, what is the overall loan application rejection rate? As an example question. And you can also see that since we're talking about rejection rate and not approval rate, it didn't include the joke. So if we had talked about an approval rate, which I can do right here, it should include a joke in its response since we told it to do that in the custom instructions. Yep, and here's a joke for you. All right, in both cases, so here's the rejection rate query. We have the SQL here, as well as the output, and maybe we want to add that to our verified query list. So whenever a user asks a question that's similar to this one, it should output the same SQL that we know is verified. Maybe that's verified by a data team or a business expert. So we'll build out this verified query list that only improves the accuracy of Cortex Analyst, which out of the box is around 90%. All right, so say the semantic model is ready to be shared, so I'll go ahead and save that. And before we actually create the listing, we need to make sure our search service is also created. So that's the unstructured side of the house. So let's go back to our notebook and scroll down to where the search service gets created. So walking through the basic steps for how to prep the PDF documents for a search service, you can see that I have all the PDF documents in an internal Snowflake stage called Auto Finance Docs. And there's 3 PDFs in there, one on credit policy guidelines, one on dealer best practices, and one on market analysis. This is all synthetic data made by AI. First, we use the Cortex built-in function called parse document. So here's an example over a single document, credit policy guidelines. It essentially just extracts the text from that document. Then we add all of the parsed text to a table called parsed auto finance docs we're running the same Cortex function as I showed above, but on all of the documents in the internal stage. So you can see there are 3 rows, one for each document, and the corresponding parsed text field. Then we'll go ahead and chunk the parsed text. So we're using the Cortex function split text recursive character. These are not functions you need to build on your own. They're built into Cortex. And so then our output is 46 rows of the relevant chunks. So we have, for example, for the market analysis Q4 2024 doc, we have a bunch of different chunks that it logically separated the parsed text into. Once we have chunked text, we're ready to create our Cortex search service. So we're calling it Auto Finance Docs Search Service, and we're doing that search service on the chunk column. So this column above. We're specifying the embedding model, and with that, our search service is created and it's ready to be shared as part of this listing. So we have the semantic model on the structured side of the house, the search service on the unstructured side of the house. And now let's create our listing with both of them involved. So I'll go ahead to the Data Products tab and Provider Studio. Create a new listing for specified customers. We'll call it Auto Finance Demo Listing. And then just for the sake of time, I'm going to use a listing that was already created. So you can see here that I added 3 data products to this listing. I have the search service that we just created, the semantic view called Auto Finance Demo, and then I have the underlying secure view, which again, the viewers of this could not see the underlying code involved in creating this view, but they have access to the output. All right. I added a description here about how this listing uses a Cortex search service over the unstructured documents. It also includes a semantic model, etc. So this is a Cortex AI ready listing since it includes a semantic model. You can also include things like a data dictionary, business needs, usage examples to really enable your dealers to start using this, what's in this listing, including the semantic view, immediately. And here's where I selected who can access. I just grabbed the data sharing account identifier from the consumer account, and I just added it here so that it's accessible to that consumer. All right, so let's jump over to the consumer account. I'll go to Data Products, and you can see that that listing is shared with me already. So that was called Auto Finance Demo 2, and here it is. I've already installed it here. So I have the semantic model and the search service ready to be used. So from the consumer account, so I'm a dealer now and I have access to both of these things, I want to create an agent that can call both the analyst and the search service. So I have started creating this agent here. Just to show you the flow, you can create an agent, select the name, and then you just select and then you select edit here to be able to go through the flow here. So I have a display name, I have a brief description that it can answer questions around loan applications and related policy documents for the particular dealer, etc. So then for instructions, you can add specific instructions for how it should sound, the tone it should use, and how it should respond to users. I'll skip that for the sake of time here. And then you can add sample questions to really let your users know, like, how do you use this agent? We can say, what is the overall loan application approval rate, for example. All right, so here's where we connect to the different tools that we want it to be able to call. So we have a Cortex Analyst semantic model that we want it to use. So Auto Finance semantic model, or sorry, in this case, it's a semantic view. And then we're going to go into the database that we just downloaded from our share. And in the public schema, there is this semantic view. We'll select a warehouse for it to run on, and we will write a description that, this analyst tool can answer questions about loan application data. All right, we'll add that. And then let's add our Cortex search service. So auto finance search service. This search tool can pull relevant information from documents on credit policy, market analysis, etc. And we'll go ahead into the shared database, public schema, and there's our search service that was shared with us. We'll just do the relative path as the ID column. All right. You could also add custom tools here, but for our purposes, we just have analyst and search services that we want the agent to be able to call. And then for orchestration, we'll have it on auto here. You can also choose your particular orchestration model and give it particular planning instructions, but I'm just going to leave that to the agent. And then for access, you can add roles that would have access to this agent. I'll go ahead and add the public role. And then when it's in the state that you're good with, you'll go ahead and save that agent. So the dealer is creating an agent from both structured and unstructured data, saving it, and then we'll access that agent through Snowflake Intelligence. All right, so I have my agent here. I'll go ahead and pull up Snowflake Intelligence. So this is a standalone UI. So when people come to this standalone portal, they're not, in the Snowflake Snowsite UI where they might see all these worksheets, etc. They are just interacting with the agent. So you can select from a list of agents that you have. In this case, on this particular dealer account, I only have this one that I just created. And then when you ask a question of that agent, if you know what source you'd like it to use to answer that question, you can select your source here, or you can leave it on auto for it to intelligently route your question to your different tools that it connects to. All right, so when we asked it to show me all the loan applications that were rejected, we see the SQL that was actually executed is rejected equals 1, and then we get 1 rejected application here. Maybe we want to use multiple sources here and say, for that rejected application, can you use the policy documents to tell me about strategies for getting that application approved? So here it's pulling that rejected application. It's seeing that the reason for that rejection was a low credit score. It has a credit score of 580, which falls into the fair credit category. And so then it reads the policy documents for, low credit score and specific strategies that could address that rejection. You can see them here. And so it can use a combination of your unstructured and structured data, and it can also help reason about what it sees. So that's kind of the dealer perspective of making an agent from shared semantic views and search services, and then selecting that agent via Snowflake intelligence to be able to interact with it in a easy to use UI. Thank you.